and welcome to Enjoy English School.
欢迎来到 Enjoy 英语学院。
I'm Stevie.
And I'm Laurie.
Today we're looking at day 2 of our celebrations lesson about St. Patrick's Day, the holiday that some people call the greenest holiday on earth. And yesterday we talked about St. Patrick's Day being celebrated on March 17th to celebrate the day that St. Patrick's died, or St. Patrick died. And he was a saint from Ireland. He was a slave and became a saint, became a great person, and people loved him so much they created a holiday to celebrate him. And now it has become a day to celebrate Irish culture.
That's right. 所以呢，今天来到我们这个全球节庆的第2天，要来继续谈到这个绿油油的节日圣派翠克节啊。那么呢，这个刚刚这个 Steve 老师有帮我们复习了一下昨天有关于圣派翠克他的开头然后以及呢他死的日子，还有他死后呢，人们依然为他的善行持续的在增长传播他的有关他的传说跟故事。那今天我们要再来继续看看有关这个节日更多的有趣的资讯。
Let's take a look.
St. Patrick's Day, the greenest holiday on earth. Although some people go to church on St. Patrick's Day, the biggest celebrations are typically held in the streets. St. Patrick's Day parades are lively, all-day events, with people marching through the streets and Irish musicians filling the air with old folk songs. Attendees can enjoy corned beef and cabbage, a traditional Irish meal. To wash it down, adults often drink beer that's been dyed green with food coloring. Although St. Patrick's Day may have started in Ireland, it's now celebrated around the world. Many cities have even established their own traditions for the holiday. In Ise, Japan, the party begins at a shrine with a parade dedicated to a Shinto goddess. Irish and Japanese flags fly side by side as people in leprechaun costumes dance to bagpipe music. At the end of the day, everyone enjoys a large oyster festival. New Orleans has its own unique take on St. Patrick's Day. It includes a big food fight in the streets, with people tossing cabbage at one another. It may seem a little bit crazy, but the fight symbolizes how cabbage replaced potatoes in Ireland during a famine. Perhaps the best thing about St. Patrick's Day is that everyone is welcome to join the fun. That's because the Irish believe that everyone is a little Irish on St. Patrick's Day.
Looking at the first paragraph, it says, although some people go to church on St. Patrick's Day, the biggest celebrations are typically held in the streets. So this means even though some people still go to church for St. Patrick's Day, the biggest celebrations, the biggest parties are usually held in the streets. There are places that have big parades, and they're all over America, all over England, Ireland. There are also big celebrations in all the pubs.
That's right.
Yes.
常常会看到在很多 pubs 里面也有
Yeah.
他们的庆祝活动。好，所以一开始我们来看到他继续来介绍，他说虽然呢有些人呢是选择在这个圣派翠克节那一天呢上教堂那么但是呢这个逗号的后面告诉我们，真正最大规模的最盛大的这个 celebration 庆祝活动呢are 如果我们先把 typically 遮起来的话，就是 are held 它的这个字呢原型是 hold H-O-L-D 所以就是举办的意思。那因为这里呢是被举办，所以呢你会用前面一个 be 动词，这边来加一个 PP， 然后我们再把 typically 放回去看的话，就是典型的那表示它通常这个最盛大的活动都是举办在哪里呢？在街头。
Yep. St. Patrick's Day parades are lively, all-day events with people marching through the streets and Irish musicians filling the air with old folk songs. Now, there's a couple of good phrases. When we say St. Patrick's Day parades are lively, they're a lot of fun. They're very energetic. There's a lot of people are not quiet at St. Patrick's Day parades, okay? It's a day that people are loud and celebrating and drinking, and it's a day that Irish people get a little crazy sometimes, okay? So they're lively all-day events. Now, the parade doesn't go all day, but after the parade, the people are out on the streets just walking around and talking and having fun.
Yeah.
And when we say musicians filling the air with music, this means that the musicians are out on the streets playing music. It could be a violin. A lot of times we hear, like a kind of a modern violin, a fiddle. It's like the violin, but it's faster. And it's used for folk music. It is a violin.
Okay.
But it's the style of music is different.
Fiddle.
Yeah, that's fiddle, F-I-D-D-L-E. So you hear, when we say the air is filled with music, that means everywhere you go you can hear music because it's everywhere. It's in the air.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
所以呢，接下来的这个句子有点长，不过呢，它描述的非常的生动哦。那我们先看到它的前半部，讲到说呢，圣派翠克节呢，它的游行啊是非常的 lively， 我们可以翻中文的很热闹哦，或者就是刚刚呢这个Stevie 老师讲的非常的 energetic 啊，就是呢活力四射的这样子，而且是一个 all day event，all day 就是一全天嘛，所以表示是一个从早一路到晚的一个这个盛大的活动啊。那这个活动它有什么呢？所以 with 后面告诉我们两件事，第一件事是人们呢他们会 marching through the streets， 就是呢在街头大街小巷里头不断的游行，不断的行走行进 ，march 是行进的意思啊。所以呢人们在街头到处的游行，而且还有另外一件事，就是 Irish musicians 是爱尔兰的乐手们，他们会怎么样呢？用什么来填满空气？哦，这里我们看到一个片语是 filling the air with something。那么就是让空气中都弥漫了什么呢？弥漫了这个非常古老的这些民谣歌曲。所以呢，这个是这个圣派翠克节，人们会到处在这个大街小巷行走，以及空气中弥漫着古老的这些民谣歌曲。
Yeah. Attendees can enjoy corned beef and cabbage, a traditional Irish meal. Attendee. An attendee is a person who attends an event. Okay, you could be an attendee at a university. You are a person who attends university or studies at this place. It just means you go to this place and you're a part of this thing.
对。
That's what it means. So if you attended the activity, then you are an attendee. It's very easy. Although it feels like a long word. So attendees can enjoy corned beef and cabbage. That's a very traditional old Irish meal. My family still eats corned beef and cabbage on certain days.
Okay.
It's just a food that we grew up eating. Yeah, very tasty.
就像我们的卤肉饭的概念这样子就是从小吃到大这样。所以呢，接下来他讲到 attendees， 就是我们讲的参加者就是参加这个活动的这些人呢，他们都可以呢来享用这个 corn beef 就是腌牛肉，还有 cabbage 就是卷心菜。那这是怎么样的菜呢？就是逗号的后面告诉我们是非常这个传统的爱尔兰的佳肴。
Yeah, to wash it down. When we say to wash it down, it means something to drink with your meal. To wash it down, adults often drink beer that's been dyed green with food coloring. This is the same word to dye your hair, to change your hair color. You dye your hair. 就是染头发, right?
对，染。
染. That means to dye your hair. Well, they dye beer, but they use green food coloring. It's safe for food, they say.
没错 ，they say. 好，所以呢，接下来他讲到 to wash it down， 那个 it 指的是你吃的东西啊。
Yeah.
所以为了要把你吃的东西能够冲下肚子里，冲到胃里头，那就表示为了要喝一点什么东西的话呢，那么这个成年人的话，常常他们就是喝啤酒，而且是怎么样的啤酒呢？是那个已经被用这个绿色的食用色素染色过的啤酒。
Okay, we'll take a quick break and come back and look at the next paragraph. Looking at the next paragraph, although St. Patrick's Day may have started in Ireland, it's now celebrated around the world. Now, in this case, may doesn't mean might. 有时候 might 就是有可能。
对。
But here, this just means, well, yeah, this may have happened. This happened, but now we celebrate it everywhere. So it just means even though St. Patrick's Day started in Ireland, now it's celebrated all over the world.
好，所以接下来继续他讲到说，尽管虽然圣派翠克节呢，它是起源于爱尔兰，但是呢，它现在呢，则是全世界各地都在庆祝的节日。
Many cities have even established their own traditions for the holiday. So there are cities around the world that have established. In this case, this means they have started their own traditions. And we say it's established because it kept going.
没错。所以呢，接下来这句讲到说，而且很多的城市他们甚至已经建立，这里的 have established 已经建立已经这个有了他们自己的传统。是什么的传统呢 ？For the holiday 就是这个节日的传统的这个庆祝法。
Now, I thought most St. Patrick's Day celebrations were in places where there were a lot of Irish people, like in the U.S., in Canada, in, around the U.K., in European countries. But the next sentence, I learned something new. In Ise, Japan, the party, they have a St. Patrick's Day party. The party begins at a shrine with a parade dedicated to a Shinto goddess. So they start a party on that day with a parade, but that parade is dedicated to a Shinto religion goddess.
没错。所以呢，它的这个演变可以说是非常的广的所以他接下来举例了。他说，在日本的这个伊势那么呢，这个城市的话呢，这个非常奇妙的是，这个 party 是指这个庆祝这个庆典它呢 begins at a shrine， 它是在一个神社举办的。然后呢，是有着怎么样的东西呢 ？with 后面告诉我们 a parade 有一个游行 ，dedicate to 是指对谁致敬？他们是对一个神道教的女神致敬，这样的游行。
Irish and Japanese flags fly side by side as people in leprechaun costumes dance to bagpipe music. This is so interesting. Irish and Japanese, leprechauns and bagpipes. And bagpipes are actually a little more Scottish than Irish. So a very 非常混合，
非常 mixed.
Yeah, it's a very, very well mixed celebration.
对
Interesting.
很有趣所以呢，他就讲到，那在这种状况下呢，当然就是这个爱尔兰跟日本的旗帜呢，是这个 side by side 是指并列并列的 fly， 它在空中飞扬，然后两个是并列在一块的。然后呢，同时人们呢in 什么 costume 是穿什么样的服装，所以呢，他们穿着矮腰巾的服装，然后随着什么起舞是 dance to something， 他们随着这个风笛的音乐而起舞。
At the end of the day, everyone enjoys a large oyster festival. So at the end of the day, they have a big festival and they eat oysters.
非常有趣。然后呢，他们在一天的结尾的时候，尾声的时候，每个人还会享受一个呢非常丰盛的牡蛎节。
Wow, very interesting. We're going to take one more quick break and be right back and learn about one other place. Okay, looking at the next part. New Orleans in the U.S. Some people say New Orleans, and if you're from there, they say New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But New Orleans has its own unique take on St. Patrick's Day. Now, when we say it has its own unique take, we've learned unique before. That means
one of a kind.
One of a kind. But when we say they have their own unique take on it, that means they have their own idea of how to celebrate it. Mm-hmm. And we could say they have their own version, maybe. Version. It just means they celebrate it in their own style.
Their own
way. Yeah. So they have their own unique take on St. Patrick's Day.
所以呢，接下来我们要去看到纽奥良了。所以讲到纽奥良呢，有他自己的独一无二的那个版本的圣派翠克节。那么，所以刚刚讲到 take 这个字 ，Steve 老师帮我们解释得很清楚，也可以等于是他们有他们自己的风格，他们自己的这个方式，这样子的一个概念。
Yeah. Now this one is interesting. It, meaning the New Orleans style St. Patrick's Day, it includes a big food fight in the streets with people tossing cabbages at one another. Now, a food fight is something that people with too much food do. Food fight, you see this sometimes on especially American TV. Kids in the school lunchroom, they start throwing food at each other.
Oh.
And they go, food fight, and they just start throwing the food. Yeah, that's why I said people with too much food.
真的。
So in New Orleans, this big food fight is people throwing cabbages at people.
Okay. 好，所以I really don't know what to say.
We'll tell you why in a minute, but don't waste food, students.
对，我觉得还是一样哈。好，所以呢，接下来他讲到 it 指的是这个纽奥良它这个版本的圣派翠克节庆祝方式里呢 ，includes 包含了所以那个 it 很长那么它包含了一场大型的，这里的 big 是指大型的这个食物大战，叫 food fight， 而且是 in the streets 是在街头上大战那怎么样的大战法呢？逗号后面告诉我们，所以人们呢，他们会 toss 是丢的意思所以会丢这个卷心菜 at one another 是对彼此互丢那个卷心菜。
Yeah. So it may seem a little bit crazy. Yeah, it sounds a little crazy, right? But the fight symbolizes how cabbage replaced potatoes in Ireland during a famine. Well, first of all, the word famine. If there is a famine, that means there is no food and people are starving. Okay?
对。
So in Ireland, a long time ago, the regular crop, C-R-O-P, the regular thing that they grew that all the poor people ate, everybody ate, was potatoes. And there was a sickness that went through the potatoes, and the potatoes all started rotting in the field.
Okay.
So it was a crazy time, and a lot of people starved to death because they didn't have food, especially poor people.
Okay.
And so the cabbage, they found cabbages grew quickly, and they were able to grow cabbages in place of the potatoes that were dying that they lost. And so cabbages kind of saved them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but this fight symbolizes how, now we have lots of cabbage. So they throw it at each other. I still don't understand why they throw it, but that's the story.
OK， 好，所以接下来这句他讲到说，那么 it 是指像这样子的这个 food fight， 这个食物大战呢，可能看起来是有那么点疯狂，其实我是觉得不是有那么点啦，好，蛮大点的这样。但是呢，这个 fight 这个食物大战，它呢象征了就是这个。卷心菜是如何的在这个爱尔兰曾经出现过的一段这个饥荒时期当中呢，取代了马铃薯 ，replace 是取代的意思所以刚刚呢 ，Steve 老师也讲了中间这个故事大概是因为呢，这个马铃薯有一段时间，因为呢这个作物完全的出现了一些这个就是传染的这种
一个
病，然后呢，所以那个马铃薯都烂光光，然后让很多人都饿死，尤其是穷人。然后因此呢，后来大家发现说，我们可以种卷心菜，长得 又快，好来得及赶快吃啊，所以因此是马铃薯酱被取代掉的。所以这个是 Stevie 老师刚刚帮我们讲的故事。
Yeah, that's a very 比较简单性的故事。
It's
much
simple
more,
version.
Yeah, it's much more complex than that, but that's the basic story.
对。
Perhaps, maybe, the best thing about St. Patrick's Day is that everyone is welcome to join the fun. You don't have to be Irish, you just have to want to have fun.
对，没错。
Yeah.
This I agree.
Yeah.
所以呢，他讲说也许啊 ，perhaps 是也许啊。那么呢 ，the best thing about something 就是关于这件事情最棒的一点就是什么啊？你就可以这样用。那么关于圣派翠克节最棒的一点就是每个人都非常被欢迎呢，来这个共襄盛举，来加入这个欢乐。所以你不必是爱尔兰人，也是受欢迎的。这样。
That's because the Irish believe that everyone is a little Irish on St. Patrick's Day.
所以呢，最后这一句这个结语还不错啊。他说呢，那是因为啊，这个爱尔兰人呢，啊，他们这个相信啊，在这个圣派翠克节这一天，那其实每一个人都是有一点点那么爱尔兰的啊。所以呢，我们的中文翻译翻成有爱尔兰魂在里面啊，我觉得这是 OK 的。它可能象征的就是那个 crazy 啦，或者是那个就是有一些部分那个元素在里面这样。
其实它的意思是爱尔兰的热情。
热情更好，对，很好的字，
Okay, that's the end of our article. We will take a quick break and come back with our words and phrases. Looking at the words and phrases that we learned today, one of them was celebration, a big type of party. We learned the word lively, to have a lot of energy, be energetic. We learned the phrase to fill A with B. Here they talked about filling the air with old folk songs. We learned the word dyed, meaning to change the color of something. You can dye your hair, you can dye food, you can dye your clothing. We learned the word established, to establish a tradition or a holiday. We also learned dedicated to. In this case, if something is dedicated to somebody, then it's kind of in their memory or in their honor. We also learned the word tossing, to throw, and the word replace or replaced. In Ireland, cabbages replaced potatoes during the famine. So those are some of the words and phrases that we went over today, and we'll have more for you in upcoming articles. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.